What's your name?
Hazel Ensminger Lang,
And what year were you born?
1930,
And where were you born?
Detroit, Michigan.
So you were born in Detroit, Michigan.
We were living in St. Clair Shores at the time. That's in Michigan. St. Clair Shores.
Oh, St. Clair Shores. Okay. Where did you go from there?
Went back to the home of my mother and dad, which was Pennsylvania, on the southeastern part of the state in York County.
Oh, okay. And that's where you grew up as a teenager?
I grew up there until I was 12.
Okay. At 12, um, where did you go from there? Where did your parents move?
Oh, we went south to Florida, Tampa, and so my dad could get some welding jobs down there. It was during the war, and they were building ships, and they needed welders really bad.
So your father, his name is Frank Ensminger?
That's right, Franklin.
Franklin Ensminger.
Yes.
Okay. And I thought he had grown up on a farm, but evidently he was. Do you know where he got his welding experience?
No, I think he just picked it up because some other family members, a number of the guys were welders.
Oh, okay. Family business.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what were you like as a child?
Me?
Yeah, you.
I don't know what I was like. I know one thing, my mother was very strict, and we had to behave ourselves.
So you would say you were a good AB student, follow the rules.
Oh, definitely, we would have gotten whooped.
What about your mother?
What about her?
What? What's her name?
Emma May.
Emma Mae Ensminger.
Yes, her name was Siple.
Siples. S-P-I.
Siple.
Thank you.
Sipple, some people pronounce.
And she was a nurse?
Uh, yes, but the nursing came later. I remember when I was still in about the 6th grade, she went to Baltimore and took a nursing course.
Oh, okay. Baltimore. So you were in Florida and then somewhere along the line?
No, we were this was when we were in York. See, I stayed in school in York through the 6th grade. And I was in the 6th grade when she did that.
Oh, okay. And so Franklin was down there welding at the time?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure just when he went, but he moved down there about 6 months before the family could sell the house and move down.
Do you have memories of what your parents said you were like as a baby?
I don't know. I can't remember. I'll tell you one.
Okay.
Well, of course, it's very cold in Michigan, so they had my crib as by the kitchen, a wood-burning stove, and to keep me warm. And my dad also took his baths back there. It's a big space between the wall and the stove, and so I was just talking pretty good, and I was watching him take his bath one day, and I told my mother, I said, "Mama, Daddy has a sausage." I don't know if you want to keep that in there.
What did Emma say to that?
They just laughed.
When you were little, say, teenager 10 to being at, 13-ish, what would a typical day be like for you and your family? I mean, school, is there anything special that you did?
Yeah, we were expected to come home and do chores, which I don't think the kids do too much nowadays. But Yeah, we had to make up beds with the clean linens and help with the laundry. And when my mother canned fruit and vegetables during the summertime, we were very much involved in that. We had to wash the jars and help prepare the fruit to go in them, and it was a lot of work.
Wow, where did you get the fruit? Did you grow it yourself, or did you neighbors, or?
Well, in York, they had a lot of farmers markets, and my mother would buy like tomatoes by the bushel, and it, I mean, we didn't have the canned goods like you have nowadays in the stores. Um, you had to can your own, or you didn't have any. So that was a big job because we had to can enough for the whole winter.
I understand at one point in time you had a cherry tree growing in your yard somewhere.
Yeah, I had a great big black Bing cherry tree, and I loved that tree. I used to go and sit under it and play. Besides, the cherries were just yummy, and I always ended up getting a bellyache when they first got ripe because I wouldn't stay out of the cherry tree. And yes, we had that, and it was wonderful to have that in your backyard.
Oh, it was in your backyard? Did
Yeah.
you ever have any problems with the neighbors wanting your cherries?
Oh, definitely. When the cherries were getting ripe, we didn't dare leave the house. Somebody had to stay there all the time because if we didn't, everybody would come and steal our cherries. It was the only big cherry tree that I know of that was in the neighborhood. So the neighbors, if we went away, they'd send the younger kids over there to get them.
Of course, yes. And
Yeah.
the young ones over, they won't get beaten up.
Yeah. And they would just break the limbs off. They didn't bother to pick them.
Oh,
And it really ruined the tree. That's why one of the reasons we stayed home, because we didn't want the tree to be ruined.
that's understandable. In your family, how does your family tend to show their love for one another? Whether through physical affection, hugs, kisses, gift giving, saying I love you, some other phrase, or was it handled differently?
Well, it wasn't a lot of affection. My mother was the most affectionate one, and usually we got hugs in when she was in bed. But she would have us come and lay down with her, and we get hugs and kisses then. But my dad was very shy about that sort of thing. I never saw him hug my mother or give her a kiss.
Oh,
And I don't ever remember him hugging me, come to think of it. But he showed me affection in other ways.
but you knew your parents loved you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So what would you say that makes your family unique from other families,
Oh,
if anything?
gosh.
Because y'all grew up during the Depression, didn't you?
Yeah. You mean other families nowadays or other families back then?
I think back then, because they all were all living, because today, you know, everybody lives, it's a whole different world than it was back then. Back then, people seemed to have more not patience, they were more polite. People, it seems like, at least that's what you see on TV. What was your experience with the people back then versus people today? That's a good question.
Well, the people back then didn't cuss at each other, that's for sure. Um, I, I just, they weren't really what you call kinder. They were so hardworking. They had to in order to get enough food on the table, and it took all year to put their food away. Some of it was dried. It was all different kinds of methods of preserving it, and so I just there were large families, most of them, and I guess ours was different because there was only 4 of us, And in fact, at one time it was only 3, and then we took a young lady who lost her mama to live with us she was with us for about 6 years.
And what was her name?
Her name was Kay. And she came from a very poor background. We weren't wealthy, we were poor too, but we weren't as poor as they were. And her mother tried to support, I think there were 5 of them, and she worked in the hospital, and she didn't have any schooling or anything, so she scrubbed floors in the hospital on her hands and knees.
It's a hard life.
A very hard life. And the kids were let to run. They did whatever they wanted, and they lived near the railroad, so kids were always down on the railroad tracks and stuff.
Kay had more than one brother, more than one sibling?
He had one brother, and I think it was 2 sisters. I believe that was it. I know, she had an older sister and a younger one. Those kids were always full of coal dirt. you couldn't, you couldn't keep them clean. They were down there, because there was a lot of coal would spill on the railroad tracks from the trains going through. And when her mother passed, one of the aunts took the kids in, and they were so dirty and full of coal, the first thing that they did was give them baths. And when we got to their house, they had one of them on the kitchen table in one of the big galvanized tubs, scrubbing her down, and then another one was upstairs in the bathtub. They really had a process going there to get all those kids clean, and you couldn't get the coal dirt out of their elbows, where the elbows creased.
Wow.
It took maybe a couple weeks before we got Kay real clean.
Really?
Yeah, because it gets ground into their skin.
Oh.
And then she had lice also.
Oh.
And that took a while to get that cleared up. But my mother was real good at doing things like that, so she'd sit on the porch and pick the lice out of her hair.
Oh my.
And put it in kerosene.
Put the lice in kerosene?
To kill it, yeah.
Oh wow.
We use kerosene for everything. You don't do that nowadays because it's dangerous.
What kind of stuff did you use kerosene for besides lighting a light?
Well, you'd be surprised. For one thing, they used to, I don't know if y'all know what a sugar cube is or not, but they would put a sugar cube on a spoon and then drop a little bit of kerosene on it, and they gave you that for a cough. And it's surprising, it would stop your cough.
Really?
Yeah, but I don't think it was very healthful for
I don't think it's very, I don't either. Oh my goodness. When you were a kid and you were bored, what did you do to break your boredom?
Oh, I never had any trouble finding something to break my boredom. I always loved to draw and to color and cut out paper dolls. That was one of my favorite things, which kids don't do anymore. And I had a spot behind my dad's big chair in the living room that I would go back there and had all my materials, my crayons and glue and paste and all sorts of stuff like that. When I used salt to make the snow, and when I want to make a snow scene, you would put some glue on the paper and then sprinkle salt on it, and it sparkles.
Oh, interesting. So I guess y'all didn't have just go to the store and do something. You had to make up your.
You did your own stuff.
Interesting.
I used to make my own Christmas cards. That was a big job.
Oh, I bet it was. Sounds like fun.
Yeah, I
What was
enjoyed
your
it.
Christmases like? I know you said you were poor, but you could still have enjoyable times together.
Oh, well, Christmas was always very special. That's one thing my mother did. She really bent over backwards to give us a nice Christmas, especially the first one after Kay was there, because Kay never had a Christmas. And so I remember at the time we took Kay in, we were living in an apartment, and it wasn't big enough really for another person, but we stayed there until we found a house to buy. And so my mother put right in front of the window, she got us a little table and chair set, and she also got us some really pretty china dishes, and she served us breakfast at our little table. And of course we had packages to open. She must have worked all year getting all this stuff together, and of dolls, and because kids played with dolls all the time back then. And it was a lovely Christmas, it really was. And every Christmas after that was, especially as long as Kay was with us, she really made a big deal out of it. One year, I must say, though, I got in trouble. We had one room in this house we bought. It was a pretty good sized house, and that we just put stuff that we weren't using in it. We used to call it the junk room. And my mother, when she was buying a Christmas for us, which she took all year, she would put the hide the gifts in there. But one day I found them. And in the group of presents that I saw, there was a kitchen stove. And now for the heat in it, they just had a light bulb. But nevertheless, it was a pretty little metal stove. And I wanted that really bad. So I thought about it for a couple of days, and finally I told my mother one day, I saw this stove in one of the windows in the department store, and that would sure be nice for Christmas. And I did get it, but she said, Hazel, you've been in that junk room. I said, no, not me.
Cool experience.
Well, I loved school, always did. And it was a real nice school I went to. That was one thing about first through sixth grade. It was always nice and clean, and we had great art supplies and stuff, which I didn't have such nice ones at home as I had at school. And I remember so many things. We used to play jacks. I don't know, the children now don't even know what those are. We had a ball and a lot of little metal pieces that you threw out, and then you had to throw the ball up and hurry and grab them back, the pieces, and you had to pick all of them up. Anyway, that was one of the things we spent so much time with, and jumping rope was another big thing. That was a lot of good fun. And in school, I always really got along with the teachers. I remember we used to play eraser races, and we would have you put the eraser on your head and you run around the room. You don't know that. Well, then have somebody chase you with the eraser on their head, and whoever eraser falls off first, they're out. And I always won that because I have a flat head. My eraser didn't fall off. And then let's see what else we do. While I was in sixth grade, we had 2 of our students were run over with cars and killed, which was just unheard of. We didn't have the traffic back then that you do nowadays. And so to have a boy and a girl run over and killed, and they were both in the sixth grade, they're the higher kids. But the boy was going to go to a job or something, I don't know, but it was quite a way. And so he was on his bicycle, and the kids used to back then grab a hold of the back end of a truck, because they usually had bars or something back there that you could grab a hold of, and then the truck would furnish the speed, and they could go a long ways without having to pedal. but he slipped. It was during the winter, and his bike caught a patch of ice on the road and threw him under the truck wheels. So that was a lot of real sad memories back then.
Oh, that's a shame. Did you have a best friend back in school? And
Oh, sure.
How did that relationship end?
Well, I had more than one, and I was pretty popular especially when we got up to the 6th grade. I was the secretary to our principal. He was our teacher as well as the principal, and he had an office connected to his schoolroom. And if the telephone rang, I had to get up and go and answer it, and it usually was for another teacher. Then I'd have to go down and find the teacher and tell her she was one on the telephone. that certainly isn't like we do it today, but that was quite a prestigious job. I was really pleased to get that.
You must have been getting good grades back then. They don't let just anybody skip out on teaching.
No, you're right about that. Yes, I did make pretty good grades. The only thing I had trouble with was spelling. I always had trouble with spelling.
What did you want to be when you grew up, when you were a kid? Did you have any?
I wanted to be an artist. From the time I can remember, I wanted to be an artist.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I was always doing artsy things.
Did that play out throughout your life, or was that just a wish?
No, I used my art skills a lot in a lot of different things. He had a quartet that he formed with some of the guys, and they wanted some kind of a little costume to wear to indicate that they were all one unit. And so I knew how to put glue on material and then put sparkly stuff on it. And I did that on some bow ties so that they had something sparkly to wear. And also they needed a velvet cover for the back of their piano. And I did a big one on there I can't remember what I put on it, but it was musical notes and different things in the sparkly material. Yeah, I did do that.
Yeah, I remember you did that on his ties when he worked that second job when he was in the Air Force.
Yeah.
He worked at the Officers Club?
Yeah, he worked at the Officers Club and the NCO Club, different places. And one other thing I did do with it, I didn't make any money at it, but I thought it was a pretty good idea. We had a bathroom in our house in San Antonio that didn't have any windows, and I'm used to the outdoors, and I couldn't stand that. So I painted a mural on the wall of the desert, and it came out pretty good. Made you feel more like you were outside.
When Dad was in the Air Force, and we had moved to Jacksonville, and you were basically a housewife, right? Domestic engineer.
Yeah.
Did you have any career aspirations at that time? Things you wanted to do? Did you go out and oh, I know, you had a very unique job at one point that you went to other stores with.
Oh, I had a couple unique jobs. Yeah, that one that you're referring to is I was called a competitive shopper, and for the company I worked for, I had to go make a round of different stores that were their competition, and make a list of certain merchandise of their pricing. And so I thought that was such fun because I could do my shopping on company time.
Oh, that worked out well for us.
Yeah. Yeah, because I found bargains all over the place.
So your paycheck was basically a wash in between what you found and bought.
Yeah. Jack always said, I never made any money, and my job didn't count. It never paid anything. He never counted the school clothes and materials and all that sort of thing that I used to buy for my 3 boys. I even bought him a couple fishing rods.
Oh, well, that was nice of you, especially since your money didn't count.
Well, we used to get a good discount. At one of the stores I worked for, we got 20%, which was nice.
Wow.
And they had a sporting goods area, and they had these nice, really good fishing rods. So I showed them to your dad, and boy, he liked that. So I bought them with my discount. So you know, but I never got credit for that.
I bet he used the fishing rods.
Boy, he sure did. I worked at one of the department stores at Christmas and sold men's ties, and I really enjoyed that. The guys were always real happy to have the help, and I learned how to put the tie over your finger so it looked like it was tied on your finger, and they appreciated that because it gave them an idea what the tie was going to look like. So, and these ties were great quality for $1 a piece.
That was pretty expensive back then, wasn't it?
Well, I don't know. I can't remember what other ties were worth, but I imagine later on I know they had some $5 ones. I didn't sell many of those. I got a job in Michigan in the upper part where the vacationers go, and I spent the summer there waiting table, and it was a nice experience. But when I was due to come back, I had already graduated from high school that summer, and I didn't have any position to come to or anything, and so my mother decided she took this job where she traveled with a group of salespeople that sold children's were books, but I was trying encyclopedias.
Children's encyclopedias.
And so I was just a kid myself. How can you sell a mother when you're a kid an encyclopedia for her baby? It didn't work. My mother sold them, but I couldn't sell them. So I would sneak off and go movie it in the middle of the day. But anyway, yeah, and then she and I got into a hassle over that. She said I was a leech, is what she called me. And here I had taken all my savings that I earned and had saved during the summer and bought her a $100 watch. And then for her to turn around and call me a leech, I was really hurt. So I decided, well, if she feels that way about me, I'll go in the Air Force. So that's when the decision was made, and I did. The next town we went to with that encyclopedia group, I went to the first Air Force recruiting office and put in my paperwork. And then when I was getting ready to leave, she didn't want me to go. So I said, bye.